Hey everybody, how's it going? Travel Man Dan here, and welcome to today's episode of Reading Man Dan. We're going to continue on with the December 2020 Vlogmas series as I read to you today the 15th book, The Biggest Christmas Tree Ever. What? Stay tuned for a fun episode and let's go. Hey, thanks for stopping by again. Really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel and you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. Ring the notifications bell so you're notified when new episodes come out each and every week. Really excited about today's book. I don't know if you've seen it already, but I went ahead and read The Biggest Snowman Ever. I'll go ahead and throw it up there right now. But this is The Biggest Christmas Tree Ever, and I'm really pumped up and excited to read this to you. So, let's get started. The Biggest Christmas Tree Ever by Kroll, illustrated by Jeni Bassett. For Kathleen, SK. For Ralph, JB. There's the author and the illustrator's little nod to their appreciation. Once there were two mice who fell in love with the same Christmas tree, but you had to see it to believe it. Sound familiar? Check it out. We see two mice right there, and they are just in love with that tree. Look at that tree. That is humongous. Everyone in Mouseville loved Christmas trees. Every Christmas, families all over town put up the biggest, most beautiful tree they could find. But first came Thanksgiving. The day before the celebration, Clayton, the house mouse, took a walk around Mouseville. He knew he should be thinking about giving thanks, but the chill in the air reminded him of Christmas. You know what? He said out loud, this year I'm going to find the biggest Christmas tree ever. Not far away, Clayton's friend Desmond, the field mouse, said exactly the same thing. All right, let's take a look at what's going on here. First of all, look at that. That's Mouseville. Everyone's getting excited for the Christmas holiday. But look over here. That right there is Clayton. And he is walking around. It's Thanksgiving, but he's already pumped up about Christmas. He says, I'm going to find the biggest Christmas tree ever. And along the other side of the road is his good friend Desmond. And he says the exact same thing. These two mice, one a field mouse, one a house mouse, are going off to find the biggest Christmas tree ever. That night, Clayton helped his mom and dad, his brother Andy, and his sister Trudy make a special cheese casserole and a nut pie for Thanksgiving dinner. Cheese casserole. Over at Desmond's house, Desmond and his brother Morris helped Uncle Vernon fix a big pot of vegetable stew and a cheesecake. Okay, everyone ate too much. After dinner, Clayton's grandma and grandpa sat in the living room, holding their tummies and grumbling. Over at Desmond's, the cousins from across the road stretched out on Uncle Vernon's sofa and took a nap. All right, so let's take a look. There's Clayton helping out his family, and we see Desmond. He is cooking it up. They're making some cheese pies and some casseroles, some cheesecakes. But then afterwards, everyone is laid out. You know what that's like. Right around Thanksgiving when you eat too much. As we can see, both families, Clayton and Desmond, everyone is just, well, they ate too much at Thanksgiving. A little too much cheesecake for them mice. The following morning, Clayton woke up early. He wanted to be first at Clara's Christmas tree farm at the edge of town. That way, he could have his pick of the biggest trees. Over at Desmond's house, Desmond tumbled out of bed with the same thought. Wow, take a look. The sun is just coming up. Clayton is waking up over here. He's like, oh, I got to get to the Christmas tree farm. But on the other side of town, his good friend Desmond is waking up at the same time, and he's thinking the same thing. I got to head over to that Christmas tree lot. Not the Arita's Christmas tree lot on Sheridan Drive at the Andersons that I worked at, but a different Christmas tree lot. So let's find out. Let's see what happens. Clayton hurried over to Clara's, but it was hard to go very fast. He was still too full of Thanksgiving dinner. By the time he reached the Christmas tree farm, he was out of breath. He looked around. There was no one else there. Moments later, Desmond arrived. He too was full of Thanksgiving dinner. He too had found it hard to hurry. He took a deep breath and stumbled inside. Huh, look at this. Both of these mice, well, they rushed their way to Clara's Christmas tree farm because they're so full, it's really hard to get there. But they make it, and they realize, you know what? Nobody's even here. What's going on? Clayton wobbled down the rows of trees. Here was a nice one, but it was much too small. There was another, but it was squat and had a crooked top. Over there was a third, but it was average height and had big gaps between the branches. Struggling down another row, Desmond was having the same problems. Jeez, these poor mice. All right, take a look. So, Clayton just can't seem to find the one that he wants. Some are too small, some are squat, some are average, some have big gaps in between the branches. And over here, Desmond, up and down the rows of Christmas trees, is finding he has the same problem. The same issue going on. Just can't find the biggest Christmas tree ever. Let's find out what these mice do. Clayton leaned against a tree. It was scrawny and not very tall. I'll never find the tree I want, he said. I'd better go home. And not far away, squinting at another tree, Desmond said, I'll never find the tree I want. I better go home. All right, now take a look at Clayton and Desmond. They are really discouraged, right? Clayton, he just drops down. He's really, really tired of looking. He just can't seem to find the one he's looking for. And over here, Desmond, he's got the same problem. He just can't find the right one, the biggest Christmas tree ever. So they're a little discouraged. They're bummed out. They start to head home. When Clayton reached his house, it was only the middle of the morning, but he was still full and he was tired. He fell back into bed. Ooh, a little nap action. When Desmond reached his house, he too went back to bed. All right, well, they are too tired. Look at Clayton. He's like, I'm going back to bed, guys. Turns his cell phone off if he has one. Over here, Desmond does the same. He's laid out on his back. They're just too tired. They just ate too much cheesecake, too much cheese casserole the night before. Clayton woke up for lunch and spoke to his dad. Dad said, go out this afternoon, walk to the far edge of the Christmas tree farm. The biggest trees are there. When Desmond woke up for lunch, Uncle Vernon told him the same thing. Wow. Okay, so we have Clayton's dad, the wise old mouse, right? And he's telling him, look, you got to go to the Christmas tree farm and walk to the very edge. That's where the big ones are. And same thing over here, Uncle Vernon, another wise sage mouse. He tells good old Desmond, hey, look, you got to go all the way to the end of the Christmas tree farm. That's where the big trees are. So they both scuttlebutt out of there and they're headed that way. That afternoon, Clayton went out again. At the very same time, Desmond did too. Clayton walked to the far edge of the Christmas tree farm. He looked at one big tree after another, but none of them looked like the biggest Christmas tree ever. Down another path, Desmond was having the same bad luck. All right, so let's see what happens here. They both head on out. There's Clayton, there's Desmond. When they get there, they're taking a look at all these giant trees, right? They're looking at them, but they're still, even though they're so big and massive, they're still not the biggest Christmas tree ever. Starting to lose hope, Clayton peered around a very thick trunk. Desmond peered around the same thick trunk. They bumped heads and fell down. Bonk. I bet you're looking for the biggest Christmas tree ever, said Clayton. I bet you're looking for the biggest Christmas tree ever, said Desmond. Why don't we find it together, said Clayton. No one said we couldn't, said Desmond. Yeah, friends, dun, dun, dun. Mouse friends, look at it. So over here we see they're peeking around the corner, they bump into each other. And over here, they have a quick discussion, almost like a fun laughter. And they're saying, I bet you're going and looking for the biggest Christmas tree. Oh, no, I bet you are. Well, let's do it together. That's what I'm talking about. Teamwork makes the dream work. They set out through the rows of trees. They looked and looked until it was almost dark. Just as they were ready to give up, there it was. A Christmas tree, so big and so tall, it reached the sky. Wow! Look at this. So we see Clayton and Desmond, and they are walking around all these Christmas trees, and there it is. Holy moly. Look at the size of that Christmas tree. Compared to all the other trees, it is much bigger. It is enormous. It is massive. It is magnificent. It is the biggest Christmas tree ever. How will we cut it down? Clayton asked. It's much too big for the two of us. Where will we put it? Desmond added. It won't fit in your house or mine. Clayton and Desmond smiled. Our families will help us, they said together. And that is what happened. Clayton's dad and Uncle Vernon came out with their axes, and with the help of Clayton and Desmond, they chopped down the giant tree. All right, well, look at, they realized this is it. This thing is so massive. How are we going to cut it down? And where are we going to put it? So they call on their family, and they have Uncle Vernon and Dad. They show up with their axes, and between the four of them, they get busy, they get started, and they're taking down this tree. Wow! Both families called on friends and relations, and together they loaded the tree onto 100 red wagons and pulled it to Clayton's front yard. There they decorated with the most wondrous ornaments and colored lights. Check it out. So they called everybody they knew, all the friends, all the family, anybody they knew. They put it out on all these red wagons. See all the little red wagons? Almost like a giant long train. And then they all pulled it into town, where they went ahead and they decorated it with magnificent, beautiful ornaments and wonderful Christmas lights. And on Christmas Eve, with all of Mouseville celebrating around it, the biggest Christmas tree ever lit up the entire hillside. Clayton and Desmond shared a high five. We did it, said Clayton. All of us together. Wow, take a look at that. That right there is the biggest Christmas tree ever. And Clayton and Desmond both give each other a high five. We did it together. And that is the end. And what a wonderful story this was. I loved reading this book. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was so much fun. Hey, if you like what I'm doing and you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there. Ring the notifications bell so you're notified each and every week when a new video comes out. Go ahead and give me a like on this video. Drop me down a comment below. Let me know what you liked about this, or if you can make a suggestion for another book that Reading Man Dan should do an episode on. The Biggest Christmas Tree Ever. Such a great book. I hope you saw something cool and fun. Like, well, Desmond and Clayton, how they both went out and they were thinking along the same lines of, I'm gonna find the biggest Christmas tree ever. I hope you learned something new and interesting, like how they worked together, not only Clayton and Desmond, but how they got the whole community of Mouseville together to chop down the tree, to carry it to town, and then they put it up in their town square and they were able to celebrate amongst the entire town. That's a lot of fun, and that brings everybody together, especially during the holidays. But most of all, most of all, I hope you are inspired to read this book yourself or watch this video again. But either way, just experience the fun adventures of Clayton and Desmond as they search for the biggest Christmas tree ever. Guys, at this time, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. If you don't, Happy Holidays. But to each and every one of you, I wish you much joy, peace, and love this holiday season. May you have the best year of your life in 2021. Thanks again for watching. I'm Travel Man Dan, aka Reading Man Dan. And remember, it's a big world out there. Make sure you see every bit of it.